Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to part 2 of our 6-part look at the big Dominaria spoiler that was accidentally put out. We talked about it in the first video, but just a real quick recap. Wizards accidentally posted on their Chinese language website a big chunk of the set, 142 cards as a matter of fact. Now, we did not see complete cards. We saw cards without art and without flavor text and without rarities. So rarities are something we don't know yet. There's a lot of things we don't know, but we do know the rules text, the names, the casting cost, power, toughness. That's what we're going to be looking at today. And if you are trying to save these spoilers for maybe the true spoiler season or when the set comes out, I would recommend, of course, not watching the video any further. Now, if you saw the first video in the series, you kind of know what to expect here. You're going to get my quick thoughts on cards, and I'm going to do the further analysis when these cards are officially previewed with the rarities and everything, or when we get to our set reviews where we really deep dive into the cards. So this is more of my reactions more than anything, just a quick review of what actually came out and trying to organize it for all of you. Now, the cards you're going to see are mock-ups that were made by Scryfall. So that's where we got those from. They have some rarities on there. A lot of them are just guesses, so I would just ignore those. Now, I do want to get into things kind of quickly, so I'm going to cut this short and get started. But again, if you're just looking for a way to support the channel, check out the description below. You'll find a few. With that being said, let's get into it. Academy Journey Mage. This is a blue and 4 human wizard 3/2, and if you have a wizard in play, this is going to cost you 1 less to cast. When this enters the battlefield, return target creature an opponent controls to their owner's hand. This is great and limited. I love these cards that give you board presence and bounce one of your opponent's creatures. And this one, considering it's also a 3/2 for 5 or 4, depending on the situation, yeah, this is going to be awesome. Befuddle. Blue and 2, instant. Target creature gets -4/-0 until end of turn. Draw a card. So cantrips, that's pretty cool, but basically this is a limited combat trick for blue. You'll play these and like them in limited. Blink of an eye, blue, 1, instant. This has kicker, by the way. Kicker's back. We didn't see that in the last video, but there's a kicker cost of blue and 1 here. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If this spell was kicked, draw a card. So if you pay the additional 2 there, you get to draw a card and will cantrip. But even if you don't, returning target non-land permanent can be really good, considering the versatility, especially in limited for just 2 mana. Curator's Ward. Blue and 2, enchantment aura, enchant permanent. Enchanted permanent has hexproof. When enchanted permanent leaves the battlefield, if it was historic, draw 2 cards. Now, we mentioned this in the previous video a little bit, but just to catch you up, artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are not considered historic, and that's going to come into play with certain cards like this one. And this is a great enchantment. I mean, being able to make something hexproof that you care about is excellent for 3 mana. Again, I probably see this more in limited than, say, standard, because it could be a little awkward if you draw this and not the things you actually care about, or vice versa. And in a pinch later on, it could maybe even lead to some card draw. Deep Freeze. Blue and 2, enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has base power and toughness 0/4, has defender, loses all other abilities, and is a blue wall in addition to its other colors and types. Again, another card you might play as a panic button card in your seal or draft games, basically dealing with something you don't have a good answer to, maybe a creature with a good ability or a good static effect on it, and there does appear to be a number of those in the set. So, yeah, it's a pretty interesting card. I mean, giving your opponent a 0/4 wall sometimes is a little annoying too, but if you have flyers, which maybe you do in blue, it might not matter as much. You can also use it on one of your own creatures in a pinch if you need to defend yourself. Homered Explorer. Blue and 3, Homered Scout 3/3. Whenever this enters the battlefield, target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. So I don't really feel like Homerids, at least at this point, are looking like a true tribe with a lot of synergy and stuff, but I think it's pretty cool if they're using them. Maybe it's just a nostalgic thing. And I don't know, I'm all for it. But aside from that, this is a good card in limited. A 3/3 for 4 is just fine. And there are some graveyard interactions we've already seen, so milling yourself could be a thing. And I don't know, maybe we'll see more cards that make me feel like milling the opponent could be a way to go as well. So again, a lot of this depends on even like the rarity of this card. It's a big difference if this thing is a rare, uncommon, or common, right? Imbolas's Clutches. 2 blue and 4, legendary enchantment aura. Enchant permanent. You control enchanted permanent. Enchanted permanent is legendary. You know, mind control or control magic effects are always good in limited. Even at 6, this is good. And by turning something into a legendary permanent, also creates a situation now that could turn on some of your cards that care about legendary. Karn's Temporal Sundering. There's the Karin reference. We'll be seeing actual Karin later on in another video. 2 blue and 4, legendary sorcery. Target player takes an extra turn after this one. Return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Exile Karin's Temporal Sundering. So it is a expensive time walk. They give you a little something, though, by having you return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So it's up to 1. You don't have to, which is kind of nice. And you do have to have either a legendary creature or planeswalker in play, of course, to play this because it is one of these new legendary sorceries. With all that being said, I don't really see this thing enhancing an extra turns deck or anything like that in Modern, and I don't really see it necessarily making it into Standard either, considering the cost versus the obligations you need too. So, yeah, it's a kind of interesting limited card, though. I'm sure you'll play it there from time to time. Could be fun in Commander, too. Merfolk Trickster. 2 blue, Merfolk Wizard 2/2 with Flash. When Merfolk Trickster enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. It loses all abilities till end of turn. So that could be nice to shut down an ability, at least for a turn, and surprise your opponent with a 2/2 or 2. So that's actually kind of cool. And it is a Merfolk. Again, it doesn't feel like necessarily there's a strong like tribal Merfolk thing going on, but some of these cards, who knows, could lend themselves well to what already exists in the Ixalan block. We'll have to kind of wait and see. Naban Dean of Iteration. This is going to cost a blue and 1, legendary creature, human wizard 2/1. If a wizard entering the battlefield under your control causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Okay, that's actually kind of cool. I mean, obviously, you're going to need some other things in play to make this card matter. Other than that, it's just a 2/1 for 2, which isn't super exciting, and a legendary one at that. But I don't know. Again, maybe this is something you could draft around. We'll have to kind of see once we get to the point where we get more cards or get to the complete set. But very interesting. And again, you're going to notice these blue wizard synergies. There's a lot of them, and that also crosses over well into red. Naru Maha, Master Wizard. 2 blue and 2, legendary creature, human wizard 3/3 with Flash. When this enters the battlefield, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Other wizards you control get +1/+1. So here's kind of a wizard lord, which is nice. It is legendary, so you can't stack it, but it does have other things going for it. The fact that you can fork something as long as you have enough mana, of course, to cast both. And also the fact that it has Flash, which would make sense, obviously, if you're forking something. But it's a 3/3 body on top of it all, so it has some stability to it, too. So, interesting card. Again, I don't know if this is going to work into Standard or anything like that, but for Limited, I could see myself playing this. There definitely appears to be a strong instant sorcery focus in blue and red this time around. Precognition Field. Blue and 3, enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library. You may cast the top card of your library if it's an instant or sorcery card. Pay 3, exile the top card of your library. So kind of a fun take on Future Sight, just a little bit of a callback to that card. A little bit easier to cast as well, considering it's only 1 blue and 3. And it's not as powerful by any means, but at the same time, yeah, you can manipulate things a little bit. If you have enough targets in your deck, instant and sorcery-wise, could be a good card to build around again in Limited. Sentinel of the Pearl Trident. Oh, there's a reference to Merfolk of the Pearl Trident. That's awesome. A blue and 4, Merfolk Soldier, 3/3 Flash. Whenever Sentinel of the Pearl Trident enters the battlefield, you may exile target historic permanent you control. If you do, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So that could be good with some of the sagas, like resetting the saga. And considering you can flash this into play, you could reset the saga and activate it by its enters the battlefield effect on your opponent's turn. Maybe that could be something you actually want to do from time to time. So this could be a good complement maybe to a saga that we could have or maybe haven't seen yet. So that's actually kind of interesting. And again, it has decent size behind it. 3/3 with Flash for 5 isn't the worst thing in the world. Again, because it interacts so directly with specific things, it might not make it into Standard. But yeah, I'd play this in Limited, I think. Tempest Djinn. 3 blue, Djinn, 0/4 flyer. And this will get +1/+0 for each basic island you control. Kind of a throwback to the cost-effective Djinns of old. And this one, I mean, it's kind of smoke and mirrors here. I don't think it's quite as good as the old Djinns we've seen because it is 3 on color, and then it is based on your basic islands, and you can't really get the toughness any higher based off the card itself. So it does have limitations, but at the same time, there's going to be moments where this will be a sizable flyer for you in Draft and Sealed. Temporal Machinations. And I do want to point out, they did mention that this card is one of the Planeswalker deck exclusive cards, so you won't find this, of course, in the regular set. This costs a Blue and 2, sorcery, return target creature to its owner's hand. If you control an artifact, draw a card. So, yeah, it's actually not bad. If this was an instant, it would be a great card, but at sorcery speed, it leaves it lacking a little bit, which usually is purposely how they design these cards that are exclusive to the Planeswalker decks. They don't really want them to cross over into constructed play, so they purposely water them down a little bit, and I think that's what they did here in this case, but it's not horrible. Tetsuko Umezawa, Fugitive. This is going to cost you a blue and 1 legendary creature, human rogue 1/3. Creatures you control have power or toughness 1 or less. Can't be blocked. Okay, first off, this is a relative, I guess, of Umezawa, who defeated Nicol Bolas in the lore, actually. And I'm sure Nicol Bolas will be looking for this individual in the story going forward. But this is a interesting card. It's cheap. First off, if you want to start to activate these legendary matters cards, this is a cheap way to get a legendary creature on the board. That's kind of cool. But secondly, too, it's a little weird that the ability is on a blue card. This feels like a red or white ability. Of course, you can play with those colors, and also wizards tend to be small too, so I'm imagining they're going to find a lot of ways to synergize this ability with other things in the set, and we've already seen some of that. So it's actually kind of interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing the full set and how this kind of pans out. The Antiquities War. I love all these references. This one is a saga. It is a blue and 3 enchantment saga. 1 and 2. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. 3 artifacts you control become artifact creatures with base power and toughness 5/5 till end of turn. It is a forecasting cost saga. It's going to take you a little time to kind of get to that big payoff, so I don't really see this working itself into like Affinity decks anytime soon or anything like that. But again, if you have some artifacts, and it does feel like artifacts maybe between black and blue are going to be at least a little bit of a thing. And we're going to see later on a number of artifacts that have already been spoiled, actually. So there's some good targets for this, perhaps, and just digging for an important artifact might make this worth your while. Again, this could be a card you just pick up for that archetype in your draft games. The Murari Conjecture, another one of these really awesome references. A blue and 4 enchantment saga. Number 1, return target instant card from your graveyard to your hand. Number 2, return target sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Number 3, until end of turn. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery card, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So great callback to the original card here. Now you're going to need some targets, obviously, in the form of instants and sorceries in your deck. This is probably better in draft than it will be sealed, but it could be fun in that archetype. Time of Ice, blue 3, another saga, 3 in a row. Number 1 and 2, tap target creature an opponent controls. It doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control Time of Ice. 3, return all tapped creatures to their owner's hand. This is going to really slow down your opponent a little bit. Probably not as good if they're hyper aggro, like going wide, a lot of little creatures, but if they're more mid-rangey, this could be a tough card for them to beat. Wizard's Retort. 2 blue and 1, it's an instant. This spell costs 1 less to cast. If you control a wizard, counter target spell. So basically, old school counter spell if you have a wizard in play. If you don't, it's a cancel. And actually could be good, especially if you have some competitive wizards. This maybe does see standard play. I guess we'll see what the rest of the set looks like. Alright, let's move into some multicolored cards with one Dimir card here. Moroni, Disciple of Gex, legendary creature, human artificer, 2/2. When this enters the battlefield, you may exile target historic card from your graveyard. You may cast non-land cards exiled with Moroni and pay 4 and tap, exile the top card of your library. So this is kind of interesting, again, to recur one of these historic cards out of your graveyard, a little bit of a roundabout way because it is black-blue, sure. But also, too, exiling your top cards, trying to hit things that you can play later. It feels a little slow and a little expensive. I don't really see this in standard, probably, but again, perhaps this is something that could be an interesting card to try out in draft or sealed. It's only 3. You're not putting a lot of resources into it, at least. Let's move on to some Izzo. With Idle is the Cinderwind. Red, blue, 1, legendary creature, human wizard, 2/2, flying haste. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, wizards you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. So another card that interacts well with wizards, and it's a good creature on its own. 2/2, flying haste for just 3. It is 2 different colors, sure. This is a card that I would at least watch out for in the world of standard, maybe down the road, if not right away, perhaps in the future. Just because it puts pressure on the board, especially on planeswalkers, that could be quite good. And who knows, if wizards become powerful enough, you never know, that could come into play as well. Jechura, Weatherlight Captain. Pretty awesome. Now we know what happened to the Weatherlight and Jechura, apparently. This is a red, blue, and 2. Legendary creature, Human Artificer, 3/3. Whenever you cast a historic spell, draw a card. So again, synergy to go with these sagas, these other artifacts even. So there's definitely a lot of interaction, it looks like, with artifacts and just these historic cards between not only blue-black, but maybe even a little bit blue-red. We'll have to kind of see how the rest of the set looks. We'll wrap things up in this video with a Sultai card, and that's Muldrotha, the Gravetide. Legendary creature, 6/6, Elemental Avatar. During each of your turns, you may play up to 1 permanent card of each permanent type from your graveyard. If a card has multiple permanent types, choose one as you play it. That's actually kind of awesome. Now, a little expensive probably, again, for the world of standard competitive games, but imagine playing this in Commander. That could be really, really sweet, as a matter of fact. And you get good value in Draft and Sealed, too. It's a little intensive on color, sure, but you still get a 6/6 with that ability. Yeah, sign me up. Alright, with that being said, those are all the blue cards that we know of so far. And we're going to keep the train rolling. So I'm just going to try to push these out as fast as I can. Bear with me. And we're going to move on to black. So I'll be seeing you soon. Until next time, please remember to like, subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.